adjourn from executive session for the legal and personnel matters that we covered and to reopen the public meeting. Is there a motion? Trustee Rosillo, second. Trustee O'Donnell, all in favor? Okay. Meeting will come to order. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag and a prayer by Trustee Rosillo. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
During this very cold period, I think we should all be mindful and acknowledge the death of 22 people who have died as a result of the cold weather. Their ages have ranged from age 3 to 79. I think we should all be grateful for the fact that we have a warm place to go, and that we should be mindful to check in with our neighbors, our friends, our relatives to make sure that everyone is safe and warm during this very difficult time. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Vinny. Excellent. And good evening, everybody. Welcome to Village Hall on this chilly February 24th night. This is a regular meeting of the Board of Trustees, and welcome. Just a quick outline of the agenda tonight. First of all, Deputy Mayor Kay is adjourned. We will move really to courtesy of the floor to start the meeting off. We do have a public hearing, one public hearing tonight, which we will open following courtesy of the floor. Matters requiring action I think are pretty straightforward tonight, but we are getting an update from the building department regarding the sprinkler law, and I think we're setting a hearing. Well, that's part of the public hearing, too. I think it ties in. So I did, definitely will take some comment if anybody's here that might have some questions about the sprinkler law or questions for the building department. We might have a little bit of give and take on that, because I think that's the one thing on the agenda item that we'll take some comment on. Everything else, as I said, is pretty straightforward and procedural. Okay, I guess first to start, for courtesy of the floor, please wait to be addressed by the chair. Come to the mic and speak clearly into the mic, and so everybody can hear you that's watching on TV. And please try to keep your comments to 3 minutes if you can. We really do appreciate it. And at this time, would anybody care to address the board? Okay. Oh, yeah, I know. Take your time.
Who also lives on Belden Avenue. And we're here to talk about a situation on our street. And I wrote down what I wanted to tell you. Mr. Mayor and members of the board, we wanted to speak to you about a situation on our street. The property across the street from my house, 29 Belden, was put on the market last week by an absentee owner who has little knowledge of Dobbs Ferry. When I spoke to him on Friday, he told me he had priced the property as a tear down because he believes the house is not worth saving. Unfortunately, he's not aware of the historical significance of the house and the role of its establishment in the Belden Park neighborhood. The people on the street are extremely worried about the fate of the house. It's a magnificent piece of architecture. It was built in the late 1800s, and even in its rundown state, it contributes to the unique character of our block and is absolutely restorable. Losing it would be detrimental to our quality of life and to the value of the homes around it. We, the neighbors on our block, recently submitted an application to give our block historic district status. But because the Architectural Review Board didn't meet last night, our application is still pending their review. However, we've been assured that it is complete and ready to go. We're hoping that we might be able to impose a moratorium on demolition on the homes on our block while our application is still pending. And we will hope you will consider this.
This is an interesting one. This is, I think I know the house. I certainly know your house. It's so beautiful. It's the pink one? So, and it's on the left-hand side.
And we actually think that at one time, one of the Fields brothers lived there,
Right.
so.
Okay. Let me turn to council here. Just, I mean, this is probably going to have to require a little bit of thought, because I don't know what we have in our code currently. I don't know if you've looked at that, but we have we have Ed Manley from the building department here. Ed, do you want to make a comment?
I would.
Okay, great. This might be helpful.
I've been working with Mr. Jekian on the application for the review of the historic district. Her application is complete. It would go before the Board of Architectural and Historic Review, and then it is their job to write a recommendation to you. And then there would be a public hearing, noticed in the paper, and a public hearing before you, for you to decide whether to designate Belden Avenue historic. As far as this house that we've heard so much about, Brian's been dealing with people for 2 days, like nonstop, asking questions about it, because there was a lot of interest generated by this sale. I told Sonia, and she was concerned about the tear down. Ms. Tarjekian was not here. So she was leading the historic designation crusade. And I agree with you all on this house. And I told her that Brian or I would not issue a demo permit unless it was part of an approved plan. So if the Architectural Review Board and the Planning Board had approved a new house or a renovation of this existing house where it would have to come down, then we would issue a demolition permit. I don't foresee that happening. I don't see either of those boards allowing that house to come down very easily. So I don't think it's a big concern about a demolition permit being issued. The owner's rights to demo it, I think they still have to come and prove that they have a viable project in its place before a demolition permit would be issued.
You issue that permit,
Yes, we do.
and what do you base that on? In order,
Typically, we only issue a demolition permit when, if the house is, the building is unsafe, we've deemed it unsafe, or if there's already an approved structure going in its place, and that one needs to come down to allow it to happen. To just clear the house off of the property, we would never issue that.
And then, just to be clear also, the house, and I don't know if you and Brian have reviewed it as of late, is it unstable, or is it?
I haven't been in it.
I do know that people who.
You have to go through the mic. Guys, go through the mic.
Let's get the mic.
Sorry, Joe, I'm going to need you at the mic again.
Sorry. Some of the people who looked at the house had an inspector come in and got in trouble for it, but he said the house is very sound.
You haven't been through it, Ed,
No,
yet?
no.
Is the property sold? Is it sold?
We don't know that either.
No.
But if it was to be sold with a active CO, we would have to go through it to issue the CCO. And we would see right then what's going on there.
Can it be sold without a CO?
It can. The owner could request that the CO be revoked, which is often done in a house where the house is not worth saving and the buyer intends to tear it down or totally remodel it, leave the structure, remodel it, and there's no point in sinking a lot of money into a house to bring it up to code when it's just going to be renovated.
Right.
But that's something that has to be done through channels too. They have to call the building department and request to revoke the CO.
So the village has the stopgap of the AHRB, and the planning board can stop a demolition of a building that's deemed of historical significance?
We would not issue the demolition permit unless those two boards had approved a project that would take the place of that existing building.
unless you go there tomorrow and you think it's unstable,
Right.
then you can
If it was an unsafe structure, that's a different story.
Okay.
And that whole
But I don't
approval
think that's
process,
the case.
that review process you're talking about is going to take some time.
Yes.
I mean, that's going to take a fair amount of time.
So they'd have
So
to
there's
change
no- there
hands.
doesn't
or
appear to
they
be
could
any
do
risk.
the application as a contract vendee, then go to the planning board. If it's a large enough change, then, and a new house would have to go to the planning board, then they'd need that approval, then they'd have to go to the architectural review board. Talking months. And I think the historic review would be done by then.
Well, I think they are connected. Let me say, I'm meeting with Sonia tomorrow night, and we're going to talk about forming the task force. I want the village involved in that, because that will be way more meaningful. To have members of this board who serve on, as liaisons to the planning and the ARB, to have ARB members. I think, Ed, either you or Brian should be on that task force. Sonia could chair it, we'll get some residents. I think there's a couple of architects in the village that I would like to reach out to be, because they know a lot about the history. Stephen and Patty, for instance, those types. So I'm very supportive of that, and I'd like to see that get going. That's going to be a process, though, right? There's going to be education and everything else. So I don't know if that actually is something to fall back on in terms of action that this board could potentially take. It sounds like, and Darius, maybe there's something you want to add here from a code standpoint or just a legal standpoint, how we should proceed as a board, or should we just let it play out? As you say, it's going to be months and months and months before you'll ever get to the point where it could even potentially be demolished unless there's a structural issue there and it has to come down.
Yeah, there's a historic, Ed outlined the historic provisions of the code of how something could potentially become historic, whether it's a house, whether it's a district, whether it's a specific area. I think the thought process of the task force is that maybe could identify certain districts or areas to present that to the ARB, so then they can recommend that to you, then you can pass legislation with respect to different districts. I know there was, Irvington, for instance, tonight is considered, or this week is considered an overlay district of historic zones. So this is something that's going on, but there has to be a process for legislation to pass. And their committee or task force would start that process, not only for Belden, but potentially other areas of the village also. So from what I'm hearing from Ed, and the fact that they're not going to issue a permit for demoing until there's substantive approvals from the boards, there's really no fear at this point that the building's coming down. Ultimately, if someone buys the property and there could be a moratorium on building potentially in that area, your request for a moratorium on demolition is an interesting request. It's not something that happens every day, but I can look into that too, Mr. Mayor, and provide some guidance to you on that. But I think it sounds like since there's no permit going to be issued, it's really no fear at this point that the house is coming down anytime soon.
So we'll stay on top of this. I think importantly, we will communicate the formation of the task force. It's an interesting concept. The one thing I have is, so what would stop somebody from coming in any neighborhood and a house next to them is being sold, saying, hey, I want my street to be a historical district,
Well, the
I
historic,
guess that's part of the discussion you have, right?
This is an amazing, I went through it with Sonia, and it's remarkable.
historical
Is
districts
it,
also
is it
have some,
mentioned in the zoning code or in the vision plan now? Is Belden, does it stand out? Because I thought that there was
In the
maybe.
vision code, there's some comments, the vision plan.
there are some.
That would be worth looking into, is look at the vision plan and see if Belden Avenue, if there's any sort of special, not that nothing is designated as a historical district yet. There's provisions for us to do that, but is Belden mentioned in the, I think it is.
The description of how to create a historic district is mentioned in the code. References to historic structures is in the vision plan. And there is one historic district existing now, I believe on the end of Clinton Avenue. Those,
Well, no, I don't.
those condos, yes, across from, the Masters Field,
Quick send.
Wits End.
Yeah.
Correct,
And several other buildings.
right. That end of is historic.
Well, I think you've got the support of the building department and the village attorney, and we're going to look into this. Nothing's going to come down tomorrow. So I think you guys shouldn't be freaking out right now. And we're going to start this process and see where we go. But we'll keep in touch, and you know where to come if you've got any other concerns that you want to express, and call us, and we'll keep in touch. Okay?
Thank you.
Are you okay with that?
I see what the neurotic has to say, yeah.
Yes.
Just one comment, if you haven't already done, check out with the Historical Society to see if there's any records that they have about that property that would help influence any decisions down the road.
I found some things just online about the whole Belden Avenue area.
Well,
So
and
we'll do our research.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody else care to address the board? Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda is a public hearing, so I'll take a motion to open the public hearing. This will be on proposed local law to amend the Village Code, Section 175, fees, fire inspections. Is there a motion to open this public hearing? Trustee Golio, second. Trustee Flynn, all in favor? Okay, open this public hearing. Just as a matter of background here, maybe, Ed, we're going to have you come back up here real quickly, and just for the benefit of the board and for the benefit of the public, what it is that we want to discuss about the fees and the fire inspections.
As you mentioned earlier, there are two items on the agenda referring to fire and sprinklers. They are separate. This one, number one, is a public hearing tonight and has been noticed legally, so you can take action if you desire tonight. So this law we've proposed is to add fees for mandatory fire inspections. The reason we're asking for fees is because typically in the past, for many years, there's been a $10,000 stipend for somebody to do these fire inspections. Right now, past couple of years I've been doing them. In my time, after building inspector time, I managed to do between 50 and 100 a year. We have between 300 and 400 a year that should be done. And it's just not possible. So with these fees, the fees would be earmarked to hire a new part-time code enforcement official who could do these fire inspections. And I believe the fees would generate the money that would pay that person's salary. So you have a copy of the proposed fees. Basically, it's $100, and then $10 additional for over on a commercial situation. The first 1,000 square feet would be $100, and $10 extra per additional 1,000 square feet. On a multiple resident, it would be, the first $100 for the common areas, and then $10 per dwelling unit. So it's not a huge fee. Multifamilies only required to be done every 3 years. Public assembly places and businesses with cooking are required to be done every year.
And Ed, maybe you can explain that we're not the only ones that have this and how the fees
Yes.
compare to other municipalities.
There, in the villages, surrounding villages, that it took out of about 6, us being part of the 50% that don't charge, and the other 50% do charge. Their fees range from $100 and up. So this would be at the bottom end of the spectrum. The other two that don't are Irvington and Hastings, but both of those towns have already earmarked over $30,000 to $40,000 for half-time fire inspectors. So they're just taking the money out of their general fund. I think it's better that the people who are profiting from these businesses and multifamilies bear that burden instead of the rest of the public. So the other villages are charging. Bardsley Scarsdale, Tarrytown, Sleepy Hollow. As far as Croton, they all have fees ranging from 100 up to 250, plus, like the $10 to $25 additional per unit.
If I may, this is something we've been struggling with for a number of years. I think the fire department is very anxious to get a process to work with this, but then we record everything, everything's documented, the inspections are done. Ed and Brian have been doing the best they can with the limited time that they have, and this was the opportunity, the way to do it and get the job done at no cost to the taxpayers and make the building safe. So that's the reason why we'll recommend this to the board at this point.
Chief Sweeting is here, prepared to comment.
Yeah, that'd be great, Chief, if you could.
Thanks, Ed. Neil Sweeting, Fire Chief. I'm a little mixed on this. As long as the fees are going towards funding a position, I don't have a problem with that. I am kind of philosophically against just attaching fees to public safety. I don't think public safety should be used as a fund generator. As long as the funds are going towards the position, I think it is a good way to do it. But I think the fees should be tied to, it should be a revenue neutral position. I don't think we should be making money on a public safety platform position. It should be what we need to fund the position, plus a little overhead costs for administrative. But really, we should not be doing this to make money for the village. There are other ways we can get funding. As Ed said, we can't cover the inspection requirements in this village. A small village like this, and they said we have several hundred of them that have to be done. With some of the recent development approvals that have come through in downtown, there's going to be new commercial space that's going to require additional load. When we add Rivertown Square, we could dedicate somebody 5 days a week up to that place. We may have to come back and revisit this here in the future. Maybe we should be at the point now of thinking about hiring that full-time person supported by the fees that we generate out of this. But I am against the fees if they're just used as a revenue generator in the village. I don't think they should be tied to public safety. Keep it revenue neutral across the board.
But there's no doubt, Chief, in your mind, though, that we need to be doing this work. And we need somebody to do it.
Yeah.
Now, will these fees cover an outside person? I mean, will they?
I was just going to comment to that, I just want to say I agree wholeheartedly with the chief. The whole reason we want these fees is to pay for a position. And it just, by some guesstimates, if I say that a person working half a week could do at least 8 fire inspections a week, which requires usually 2 visits. So he's doing 16 inspections in probably 4 days, half a day each day. And that would generate roughly $33,000 to $34,000, which would pay for a half-time personnel, which is what I believe I put into the budget.
Then you can adjust the fees going forward if you're generating enough, you can
Correct.
bring the fees down.
As Neil says, if all of a sudden, we get, 300 more units, 200 more units, whatever, and there's more time, there's more income, and more hours for that person, that code enforcement officer.
And ultimately, at the end of the day, hopefully a safer village, right, for the department and everyone.
That's the whole point.
Right.
If I could just say one thing, just to be careful on this, that whatever number of hours, if we go in the route of getting another employee, or whatever type of number of hours we're talking about, that it covers what we need. Let's just say for easy math, we have 100 inspections are required, and we only are able to cover 50 of them because that's what the salary and the time frame permits. Well, those 50 property owners are getting charged because they had an inspection, but we didn't hit the other 50 that required it, and they're not paying anything, but they were required to get it. But we haven't funded the position properly to get there. That's why I think there should be some consideration to going full-time in this position. It's a lot to think about, I know.
Any other questions from the board? Anybody from the public that care to comment? Okay. Do we want to chew on this, or do we want to think about it, or it seems highly recommended by the building department, the fire chief, so it seems like we should do this. Great. Okay, thanks very much, appreciate it. Okay, so let's, first, let me just take a motion, I'll take a motion to close the public hearing. Trustee Rosillo, second trustee O'Donnell, all in favor? That passes with 6 ayes, 1 absent. Okay, so let's see if we can take some action here then. I will take a motion for, this will be proposed local law, or local law number 2-2015, and this will be a local law amending Chapter 180-11 Fire Prevention Inspections and Chapter 175-1 Fees of the Village of Dobbs Ferry. The motion does indicate clearly what the current code reads, as well as what the proposed changes will be, the language. That's really not what's changing in the code. What will be changing is the addition of the following to Chapter 175 fees. And I'll just do this real quickly. Chapter 175 fees, Section 180-11 fire inspections. Multifamily will be $100 plus 10 per unit. Commercial up to 1,000 square feet, $100. Commercial over 1,000 square feet, $100 plus $10 per additional 1,000 square feet. Each cost of these, of the uses above that apply. And for private schools and dorms, $100 plus $10 per 1,000 square feet or unit. And the effective date, if this is passed, this local law shall take effect immediately.
Do we need to, or do we want to include wordings stating that these fees are to be used for this purpose only, or do we want to leave that alone?
Well, the fees do say that they're to be used for fire inspection. You mean fund another position?
No, that these fees go,
That they're really just, it's a revenue neutral is what you're saying.
yeah, revenue neutral,
I don't
thank
think
you.
we need to add that.
No,
I
okay.
think that's implied, and
All right.
we've, that's the intent, that's going to be the intent here.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's it. So, is there a motion? I'll take a motion. Trustee Golio, second. Trustee O'Donnell, any more further discussion? All in favor? Great, that passes with 6 ayes. Thanks, Ed, thanks, Brian, thanks, Chief Sweeting, we appreciate the input on that. Okay, matters requiring action. This will kind of tie in a little bit, I guess. Update from the building department regarding the sprinkler law. And if there is anybody that would like to ask any questions, or we'll take comment if there is any comment on this particular item.
Okay, so I heard that there were some people who were a little confused about this, asking questions at this meeting last time I wasn't here. I'm sorry about that. I didn't know it was going to be brought up here. It was still in front of the planning board, and this stuff really hasn't been forwarded to you yet from the planning board. So this was just part of one of the things that was in our long list of code changes. And as you said, when we first approved this code 3-4 years ago, that we'd have to tweak it. This is one of the things. So it's important to understand that I know there's some comments from somebody here that why don't we just go by what the state building code says and fire code says about when to add sprinklers. But it's important to understand that the state code is the mandatory minimum. That's the least you can do. So every municipality has the right to improve upon those standards. And Dobbs Ferry has done that a long time ago. In '08, they decided to have all new structures have sprinklers. What we saw for a long time then was houses, tear downs, leaving one wall up. I said, okay, it's not new, it's just a renovation, we left a wall. All right, so the intent is being misplayed there. So back in '09, it was 85, I'm sorry, and this vote was
The first one?
the first one, the new ones was 85. It was '09 when we proposed the sprinkler law, the amendment to sprinkler law that if you adding on and/or renovating 50% of an existing structure, that you add sprinklers. So that law was passed. And now what we're doing is just tweaking that and trying to clarify. Because in enforcing it in the past few years, we've had a lot of debates with builders and property owners over what is 50% of a renovation? What constitutes a renovation? So I've just devised a formula here to help people know exactly when they've hit that 50% mark. So what it is I don't know if you want me to go through this, but you take the existing conditioned space, which would be square footage of the existing space, excluding garages and unfinished basements and attics. So you total that up. Then you take existing altered spaces. So any existing space that was previously existing as finished is now being altered, goes into that part of the equation. So any new space as an addition goes into that part of the equation. So we take the existing altered space plus the new space, divide it by the existing conditioned space, multiply it by 100, I come up with a percentage. And it's a very simple formula. So if you're at 50%, you put in sprinklers.
Is it 50% of, say you have a two-story home, is it 50% in both those stories, say, slab?
Existing, any space that you take the plans, we get the plans.
Right.
And they show existing, then they show proposed. So existing floor area would be any space, any floor that is conditioned. So if they previously had a finished basement, so it's 3 floors, that's your existing space. If you had existing first floor of, say, 1,000 square feet, existing second floor of 1,000 square feet, you have 2,000 square feet of existing. Now you have to renovate 1,000 square feet of that to be at your 50%. If you have a 1,000 square foot basement, which most people don't because there's garages and mechanical rooms, I'm just saying that for round numbers, and said, well, okay, now I'm going to add all this to, you're at 50%. If you put on an addition of 1,000 square feet, you're at 50%. You're adding sprinklers.
But is that sprinklers then to the whole house? That sprinklers to the whole house?
The whole house.
If you're adding an addition onto your house where you're not opening up, this is what you and I talked about actually a few weeks
Right.
ago, and you're not opening up any other areas within the existing home.
But here's the, most people do renovate a good portion of the house when they add on that significant amount. You at least are opening up all the walls that connect to the addition, you know, to make pass-throughs and everything. You end up having to open up walls to get plumbing over to that addition, to get electrical over to that addition, to get heat over to that addition. There's a lot opened up when you put up in that kind of addition. You don't just drop a 50% addition on a lot and butt it up against the house. There's a lot to tie it together, to marry those two things together. And once you do that, Now you've opened up enough to put those sprinkler pipes in. The other misconception, I think, was that a sprinkler system is going to cost so much to discourage people from doing renovations, which is not true. The change in sprinkler science over years and the attitude of what we're trying to protect has changed. It used to be that you would have to bring in a whole new, larger pipe from the water main in the street to have this deluge of water to put out a fire to save the whole property immediately. That's not the case anymore. And it was all threaded pipe. It was very labor intensive and expensive to do. Now, the intent is to save lives. So with the advent of lightweight construction, like we saw in the fire in New Jersey, which spread so fast, and the escape time, which went from like 15 minutes back in the 60s, is now at like 3 minutes, or between 3 and 7 minutes. People don't have as much time to get out because this stuff burns so quickly. It's lightweight construction, it's engineered lumber, it has glue in it that's an accelerant. So the sprinklers give you that time to hear the smoke detectors, get up out of bed, and run out of the house. They slow it down. The intent is not to drown the building, but to slow down the spread of fire and allow people to save their lives. So at that point, we don't need as much. We don't need a whole big. You can just take a tapping off your water main and run plastic pipe through the house and come to that conclusion that we're going to give these people time and save lives. And it's true, it's been proven, because only 2 people have ever died in a residential fire in a building that had sprinklers. And those 2 were like odd cases where, you know, something blew up or something, and people would have gotten out if it wasn't for an extraordinary event. So the price is not there. The inhibitive price is not there now. I've seen people putting sprinklers into whole houses, good-sized houses in this neighborhood for like $8,000 on a full project. It's not the $20,000 to $70,000 people are talking about and afraid of that used to be. It's not nowhere near that anymore.
And the planning board's looking at this right now, and that's going to be part of their recommendation, either staying with what you've proposed or tweaking it, or?
The law already exists. We've been enforcing it. You do 50%, you're putting in sprinklers. The only change here is the equation to tell people how to figure that 50%.
So when you say the equation is changing, is it?
There was no equation, it was
Okay.
just said 50%.
Right.
So this was the
So
problem.
this is clarifying how you're going to arrive at
That's
the
all
methodology
it
you're
is.
going to use.
All it is, a clarification of how a designer or a contractor will know if they are at that 50%, so it's not a surprise to them.
And so that can be debated.
We can hear input for saying, well,
The
the equation isn't right or something, you know, or, I'm not saying they will, but I'm just saying that part of it can be debated. The safety part of it, there's no debate about that.
Right, that's.
And there's no debate about, you can tell people right now, this is what
Oh,
you're
yeah,
gonna
we
do.
have been. There's dozens
Right.
of sprinklers have gone into,
So this is really an
People
improvement
come
in the
in-
code, or a proposed improvement that is gonna make it clear how we're gonna arrive at this
Absolutely.
thing. That's it.
I had one resident come in, and when she first learned, you know, her architect didn't think he was at the 50% mark. We went through it back and forth. The owner was hesitant, you know, didn't want to do it. Came in to complain with the architect. I said, sorry, you're well over, they were redoing almost the whole house, except for 2 rooms. She found out it was very cheap. She ended up doing it very cost effectively. And then after the sprinklers were in, her project closed and done, she heard from a sister-in-law in New Jersey that somebody in their neighborhood just lost 2 children to a fire. And she came in and thanked us over and over again for sticking to our guns and making her put in the sprinklers. Because this is about saving lives.
And this has been in effect since 2008. The only thing that you're changing is how to calculate it. Not even changing, it's defining it. Right, okay.
That's it.
Right, so as you said at the outset, there's nothing that's before this board, we're not taking any action on this.
It's not even in front of you
It's
yet,
not in
just
front of us.
clarifying.
It could be in the planning board's final recommendations, whenever that might be.
The planning
so-
board didn't quite understand either, you know, they were inundated with complaints and so I just want to make sure that they move it along to you because this is really, you know, a no-brainer here. It's just
Well,
life-saving.
we might ask for that, from a safety, and I'd like, you know, we could get input from the fire chief as well in terms of, this is something that you guys need, you need to not wait for because there are a couple of other things that the planning board is obviously reviewing now. This may be something that we just want to push along. And, you know, have the requisite public hearing on it, of course, and take input before we make any decisions.
That'd be great. Maybe Chief Sweeting would like to say something.
Yeah, from the fire department's perspective, we are in full support of what is being proposed here. As he said, there's no change to the current law. It's just the clarification. Fire sprinklers are the cheapest fire protection we can have in the village of Dobbs Ferry. It doesn't cost the village a dime to put it in. It's far cheaper than buying fire trucks and training firefighters. We should do nothing to impact that, just enhance the law. And I think this just gives us some good clarification. So we don't have those people trying to skirt the rules by keeping one wall up while everything else has come down to try to say they're not doing a full renovation. Just trying to keep them from going around the curve on us, that's all.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you. Anybody, yes, of course.
Mike Merrill, 32 Walnut Street. First of all, it's not quite a no-brainer, because if you think of a lot of situations that come up, it is prohibitive. For example, we're talking about historic districts. Do we really want to prevent people from upgrading their electrical systems and putting in hardwired smoke detectors to upgrade their old houses in order to avoid the expense of having to go with sprinklers throughout? Because some of these things, if you expand the definition of renovation, I understand the point of avoiding the skirting where you're really redoing the entire building by leaving a wall at a time and then taking that one out later, right? Completely different situation than restoring the historic homes, right? We're also not talking about the commercial spaces. We're not talking about the multifamilies, right? Those are required to have them anyway. We're not talking about new construction. They're required to have them. All of these new materials that are highly flammable, they have to have sprinklers anyway. We're talking about 100-year-old houses with petrified wood that you'd have a hard time getting them lit in the first place. You'd have to try pretty hard, right? I mean, it's not like you couldn't get something burning, but if you get the smoke detectors in there, most of the people that die is because they had smoke detectors that either weren't there or they had the batteries removed. Otherwise, they would have been informed that there was a fire and they would have had time to get out, right? So the real problem is deterring getting the safety measures in place that will most immediately warn people to get out of there, right? Not to overbuild, not to discourage this other construction. I mean, really, regardless of what it is. There's so many other things after 100 years that are out of code, right? It's the plumbing fixtures, it's the electrical, it's the mechanicals, right? That's why those are specifically excluded in the state code, right? Because what you don't want to do is discourage people from replacing their wiring, right? So if you define a renovation as any place that has had their wiring redone because you've had to open walls. I mean, there's no way to run wire without opening walls. Same thing with replacing the ceilings. If you got plaster ceilings that are falling down, is that a renovation because you've taken out the falling plaster to put up sheetrock instead? I I mean, that's silly, right? I mean, and you shouldn't have to put in sprinklers throughout just because you've got old plaster, right? People need to fix things. And it really doesn't make sense to do it one room at a time. If you've tried to get a contractor in, I mean, it's hard enough to get them to do the whole house, let alone one room at a time. So, you know, I think you have to be careful of how you define these things, right? So it's not just let's do something, right? Because there are negative consequences too. There are costs involved. And for someone who's, you know, weighing the choice between, do I save this house? Do I put the money into fixing the other systems? Right? The incremental cost to what benefit, right? I mean, you know, in the 50% formula, you know, just to take another easy example, because it's there, if you add 1,000 square feet to a 2,000 square foot home, you have to put sprinklers in. But if you add it to a 4,000 square foot home, those people don't need sprinklers, right? I mean, it's kind of silly. So some of this math is a smokescreen, right? It's not really defining anything that's useful to save people from themselves, right? I think the important thing, you know, if anything, is that people are given the opportunity to be aware of what they can do, but at some point, right, when we're talking about a single-family home, people understand what the trade-offs are, right? Somebody can recognize that they're glad that they don't have to worry about it because they put in sprinklers. You know, there's other situations where, you know, if it's the difference between being able to afford ceilings or being able to afford wiring that's not 100 years old, right? I'd rather have the wiring than requiring the sprinklers and having nothing. So, you know, that's I think where we're you know, better off if we can make a distinction between the types of residences that we're requiring this stuff for. I mean, why would you exclude manufactured housing? You can put up a, you know, a 3-family apartment building with manufactured housing. Why should that not require sprinklers? Right? Because that's the new stuff that's supposedly highly flammable, not the...
Okay, so we're running a little long on this one, but you've got a different perspective to it, which is good, and we'll take that input.
there's a lot of other details there
Right, we're
that are
not going to
relevant.
cover that all tonight, so we're not obviously taking any action tonight, and this is something that we'll have a lot more input on, and we appreciate your perspective, and we know you'll keep in touch. Thanks, Mike. Okay, let's move on. Thanks, Ed. Action item number 2 is to consider a motion to appoint Mr. Jeff Chuda as Deputy Treasurer. Just a little bit of background here, because we might do a couple of things here tonight. Our current, Patrick Doherty, our current treasurer is retired. Is he officially retired now, or is he still, he's still here, you're still here? Okay, so, and we've had the party for him, so that makes it official, right? We had the party. So the village does have a need to bring in a new deputy treasurer, and we did have a pretty extensive search process and interview process, and as well with the help, and we had asked the chair of the Citizens Budget Committee to participate in that. You know, Patrick was part of that process as well. Interviewed a lot of different candidates and filtered out and broke that down to some sort of a final round, and you did a good job of that, in the board at the end, after you've done your filtering, has had a chance to look at some of these candidates too, and it was, I think, pretty clear that Mr. Chuda really stood out as the best candidate for the village. And I'll turn to you now, Marcus, to give a little bit more background here and maybe a recommendation.
I appreciate that. We actually went to a substantial advertising program to try to get the best candidate we can. We advertised throughout the entire country. First of all, I want to say it's been a pleasure working with Patrick. He's surely going to be missed. He's done a fantastic job. I really appreciate him staying on for the transition phase. And that shows you the commitment he has to this village, that he just didn't leave us without a chance to actually allow us to learn what he's been doing and allow Mr. Chuda to learn the job. So it's a benefit to the village to that, so I really want to thank Patrick for that. We went through a substantial interview process. Mr. Bob McLaughlin, myself, and Patrick, and some of the staff was involved in the interview process. We had a lot of good candidates, but Jeff actually outstood his years of experience, his auditing skills. He comes highly recommended from the references I checked out, and it gives us a much a higher level from the auditing standpoint that we never had advantage of before. And I think our books are in good shape, and I think they can wind up even better shape, some better processes, some more structure, and we can actually, I think, learn a lot from Jeff in the future. And I will highly recommend for myself and Bob that you consider appointing Jeff today, and he'll start hopefully on March 4th. We'll give him some time to work with Patrick and the staff, and I think we'll have a nice little transition period, and we get a much improved financial department.
Great. Any questions for Marcus at all? Is it standard to have a probationary period as well? Can you address that? Is that standard as part of the?
Sure, no problem. Everybody hired from the village on probation for a year, and the appointment is for a year also, so they're tied in place. They're both married together.
Okay. Great, well, thank you. I know that there was a rigorous review process,
Yes.
interview process, search process, and I know that some of us were in at the very tail end from the board, and the board did get a chance to look at and question you finally, and Jeff as well, that Jeff really stood out. A lot of good
Yes.
candidates, very good candidates came in, and we
Yes.
appreciate the interest people had in this job. There was a lot of interest in this job. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so let's move this ahead. Now, hold on here, you're not done yet. I mean, we got to get this, when we do this, I'll have to, then there's another step to this, but, so the first thing we'll do here is to consider a motion to appoint Mr. Jeff Chuda as Deputy Treasurer. This will be at a base salary of $85,000 per annum, and we have to reveal that. It's part of the way we do things here from a municipal standpoint, we have to. And this would be from a effective date, March 4th, 2015, and it would include the standard one-year probationary period as is standard. I'll add to this motion that if we do appoint Mr. Chuda, commensurate with that, we will also be appointing Marcus Serrano as treasurer. That will also be effective March 4th, 2015. So that's the motion. Well, I should say that's sort of the resolution. Is there a motion? Trustee Cassell, second. Trustee Golio, discussion? All in favor? Great, that passes with 6 ayes. Jeffrey, welcome. Now, what I'm going to need to do is swear you in, because this job does require you to be sworn in, and I think I need to swear you in too, Marcus. Yes. So I'll come down here to do this. Okay, Jeff, if you could raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear to support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and to carry out the duties of Deputy Treasurer of the Village of Dobbs Ferry to the best of your ability?
I do.
Congratulations. Welcome aboard. Now, what we do, I don't want to put you on the spot here too much. We'll put you on the spot a little bit. If you maybe just say hello and introduce yourself. If there's any family members or friends here that you might want to point out as well.
Okay. Very good. So, I am Jeff Chuda. I grew up in Pittsford, New York, which is a suburb of Rochester. I graduated from SUNY Geneseo. I've worked the past 17 years at Raymond Wager CPA, which is an accounting firm whose main focus is municipal accounting. I'm very excited to be here tonight accepting the appointment of Deputy Treasurer for the Village of Dobbs Ferry. And my years of experience have prepared me for this position, and I am happy to be a new member of this community. I want to thank the mayor, the village board. Sorry. Village staff. Community members I met with during the interview process. Everybody was very friendly and welcoming. I look forward to working many years with the people of the village of Dobbs Ferry, and I thank you very much for the appointment.
Outstanding.
To another welcome.
So to complete this appointment, Marcus, if you'll raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and to carry out the duties of treasurer of the Village of Dobbs Ferry to the best of your ability?
Of course. Thank you, thank you.
And, you know, acceptance from you, I do want to say that, you know, we had put out in a recent newsletter the very, very good score, which in this case was a low score, but a low score in the New York State Comptroller's fiscal stress test is the best score that you can get, which basically ranked Dobbs Ferry at the top of, you know, about as good as you could get, comparable to other villages in our region and of our size in terms of the stress test. We got a very, very low score. I think we'll probably get more information on that, but, you know, it is a real testament to the work that Marcus does, to the work that Patrick has done, to the work that Bob McLaughlin and the Budget Committee do, to all the staff that report to you and how they run their budgets, and you know, an overall approach that this administration and this board has bought into. We've really bought into taking the whole treasury function budgeting very, very seriously. And it's paying off really well for Dobbs Ferry's taxpayers. People wanting to look at Dobbs Ferry now as a really good, safe investment, a good place to be longer term. And a lot of that has to do with the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
So, good job.
Thank
Great.
you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, good stuff. Action item number 3 is to consider motion to appoint Mrs. Megan McLaughlin as a member of the Board of Assessment Review for a term of 1 year. This board was formed a couple of years ago, I think. It's been functioning pretty well now.
Yes.
It does a great job, sort of our eyes and ears on sort of what's coming up and in terms of assessing properties, and it's a good process, I think, that has put a little bit more attention on, on, you know, a formality process here. So I think it's been good, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Any questions about what this board does or what we're doing here? I'll take a motion to appoint Ms. Megan McLaughlin as a member of the Board of Assessment Review for a term of 1 year. Is there a motion? Trustee Golio, second. Trustee O'Donnell, discussion? Questions? All in favor? That passes with 6 ayes. Action item number 4 is to consider a motion to reappoint Village Clerk Elizabeth Draper as Registrar of Vital Statistics and Police Chief Betsy Gilardi as Deputy Registrar of Vital Statistics, each for a term of 2 years. Is there a motion? Trustee Golio, second. Trustee Flynn, discussion? Do we need to swear anybody in here?
Yes.
We do? Oh, okay. Well, let's get them appointed first, and then we'll do that. All in favor? Motion. And that passes with 6 ayes. And let me come down there, and we'll do this one. Okay, can we do this together? Can I do that?
You can do that.
Okay, well, I need to differentiate though, because there's 2 different, Liz, I'll do you first, Liz, okay? And then I'll do the chief on the other one. So, Liz, raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and to carry out the duties of Registrar of Vital Statistics of the Village of Dobbs Ferry to the best of your ability.
Yes, sir.
Congratulations. And Liz, you do such a great job in everything that you do as a village clerk and all the other things that come with it. Thanks so much. Chief, so this is, oh, they are the same title.
I'm a deputy.
Oh, you're the deputy registrar. Okay, she's the registrar. Okay. Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and to carry out the duties of Deputy Registrar of Vital Statistics of the Village of Dobbs Ferry to the best of your ability?
Yes, I do.
Thanks, Chief.
Well done, well done.
Yeah, getting a little workout here today. Okay, so that was item 4. Item number 5 is to consider a motion to schedule a public hearing to amend Village Code, Section 290-27, municipal parking areas, as recommended by Police Chief Betsy Gilardi on Tuesday, March 10, 2015, would be the proposed scheduling of this public hearing. I think the chief has written, so we've seen, and it will be noticed, the proposed change to the law, so people will have a chance to see that and comment on it before we take any action, if any.
And Mayor, if you want to say it's not any change in the fees, it's just changing some language in the code.
Yeah.
It's simply looking at changing some language. We're not going to look at raising fees.
Exactly.
Okay, is there a motion to set that public hearing? Trustee Cassell, second. Trustee Flynn? Okay. Discussion, all in favor? Great, passes with 6 ayes. Action item number 6, consider a motion to schedule a public hearing to amend Village Code, Section 98, Youth Services Council, as recommended by the Youth Services Council on Tuesday, March 10, 2015. Again, I think this is sort of an upgrading of just sort of
The mission plan.
the mission plan, right? And I know Vinnie's done a great job working with this, with the Youth Service Council and the work that Lisa's been doing, and we've
Yes.
really seen a big increase in the activity. So this just, you know what this means? This means people are really kind of focused on this, you know, and it's good. It's good that we have that. Okay, so is there a motion to schedule that public hearing? Trustee Rosillo, of course. Second, Trustee Golio. Discussion? All in favor? Passes with 6 ayes. Action item number 7 is to consider a motion to approve a request from Jose Barzola, Associate Director of Student Affairs at Mercy College, to place banners and signs on village property from March 30, 2015 to May 4, 2015. Do we have an issue with this at all?
Nope.
Liz?
Yes, Mayor, there was an issue with the lawn sign request regarding the train station. It's just something I could work out with Mr. Barzola from Mercy College, just regarding if indeed the exact location where he wants to post a sign is on Metro North property. He will have to get approval from the MTA. And regarding the Stanley Avenue and Sawmill River location, that's just something I'll have to discuss with him to make sure that is indeed on village property and not on privately owned or commercially owned property or DOT.
Okay, and on the other property points mentioned, we don't have an issue with that? I mean, I think we've given these recommendations before for other groups.
Right, no, those locations are okay. The only other thing that I would discuss with him is just the size of the signs, the lawn signs, because in accordance with the code, they have to be no larger than 4 square feet. So, you know, basically, if he has an 18 by 24 sign, that's going to put him at 3 square feet. So, you know, whatever, I can discuss that with him, just to make sure he's within the code.
Okay, any trustees have any questions, any problems, any issues with this at all? Yes, Jeff?
My only question is, I realize that it conflicts with the Garden Club's request. Is there enough space in the primary spots that we don't have an issue?
Yeah, that's something that we work closely with DPW to kind of, because a lot of the requests do overlap, so we juggle that around as best as we can to get, you know, let's say a substantial or equal amount of time for each request.
Okay. So Liz, you can work through that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Any other? Okay, then I think we can move this forward, it sounds like. We'll take a motion to approve the request from Mercy College for the banners for Relay for Life of Mercy College as outlined by Village Clerk Liz Draper. Is there a motion? Trustee Rosillo, second. Trustee O'Donnell, discussion? All in favor? Okay, passes with 6 ayes. Action item number 8 is to consider a motion to approve a request from the Dobbs Ferry Youth Little League to hold its annual parade on Saturday, April 11, 2015. This would begin at 9 a.m. at the high school and proceeding to Memorial Park. This is a great annual event for the kids. It really, I think, kind of starts off our spring here in Dobbs Ferry, right? So this is great. We check with the chief, and there's, everybody's ready to go on this. That's a good date, okay.
Hopefully it won't snow that day.
Hopefully it won't be snowing, yeah. Okay, so let's have a motion to approve the request of the Dobbs Ferry Youth Little League. Trustee Golio, second trustee O'Donnell, all in favor? That passes with 6 ayes. Great, looking forward to attending that one. Number 9 is to consider a motion to award the sale of surplus equipment through Auctions International as recommended by DPW General Foreman Gary Gardner. It lists out a number of different items here, a van and a couple of other things that we're going to sell, and we're going to get some money back.
Yes.
So these were good numbers, great. I know Gary does a great job with this, so anybody have any questions about this one? Bringing a little revenue in for the village. So then I'll take a motion to award the sale of surplus equipment as outlined by DPW and recommended and outlined by DPW Chief General Foreman Gary Gardner. Trustee Golio, second trustee Cassell, discussion, all in favor, passes with 6 ayes. Action item number 10, consider motion to add Mr. Samuel E. Goldman as a member of the Dobbs Ferry Volunteer Fire Departments. This would be for the Ogden Engine Company, and to place his name into the active insurance rolls. This has been recommended by Edward Kinect, Secretary, Dobbs Ferry Volunteer Fire Department, and we do have a letter from Mr. Kinect making this recommendation. Is there a motion? This is a motion to appoint Sam Goldman to the Dobbs Ferry Fire Department. Trustee Flynn, second trustee Golio, discussion, all in favor? Great. Thanks for stepping up, Sam. Remember when he used to be playing in that little league, youth league. Good stuff. Action item number 11, consider motion to approve a request from the Garden Club of Dobbs Ferry to place banners on the fences at Stop and Shop and Gould Park, also at the corner of Cedar and Main Street from April 13th through May 2nd. We talked about this a little bit. We love the Garden Club. We want to support them, and Liz, you're going to work it out in terms of the signage and everything else. Is there a motion? Trustee O'Donnell, second trustee Cassell, discussion, all in favor? Passes with 6 ayes. And finally, action item 12 is to consider a motion to authorize the Youth Services Council to apply for a grant under the Student Assistant Program. Vinnie, you want to give us a little just quick background on that?
Melissa has asked me to read something, so I just want to clarify what this grant is all about, and I'll just read what she wrote. Dobbs Ferry is preparing to apply for a drug-free community grant that can provide up to $125,000 in federal funding each year for 5 years. Applications for fiscal year 2015 are due March 18th of 2015. The drug-free community support program has 2 goals. One is to establish and strengthen collaboration among communities, public and private nonprofit agencies, as well as federal, state, local, and tribal governments to support the efforts of community coalitions working to prevent and reduce substance abuse among youth. And the number 2 goal is to reduce substance abuse use among youth and, over time, reduce substance abuse among adults by addressing the factors in a community that increase the risk of substance abuse and promoting the factors that minimize the risk of substance abuse. Grants awarded through the Drug-Free Community Support Program are intended to support established community-based youth substance use prevention coalitions capable of affecting community-level change, and these grants will be announced in September of 2015. So it's a great program, it's a great opportunity. A lot of the neighboring communities have applied for and gotten grants, so we're hoping to be, this will be our first time, and we hope to get it approved. So that's why we're, need this motion.
Great. Let's take a motion to authorize the Youth Services Council to apply for a grant under the Student Assistant Program as outlined by the Chair of the Youth Service Council and Trustee Rosillo. Is there a motion? Trustee Rosillo? Discussion? Second, Trustee Cassell. Any further discussion?
Just one comment, Mayor. I know, right, item number 6 to change the mission statement of the youth services is in order to comply with us getting this grant, so.
Right, not necessarily to comply, just to clarify, you have to meet certain criteria, you have to be a coalition, you have to be
Right.
focused on youth substance abuse, so we had to clarify the mission statement for the Youth Service Council in order to qualify or have a better chance, frankly, of getting the
Yeah, no, and really, great job, like you said, Mayor, really, folks focusing on every step that puts us in the best position to receive the grant, so, hats off to Vinnie and.
Well, I was going to say this in the reports, but I might as well say it here. Officer Justin Kamke is the one who, from what I, found the grant opportunity, and he actually went to Maryland, where he joined more than 2,500 other substance abuse prevention specialists and advocates when he attended their 25th Annual National Leadership Convention. And through that, he attended a lot of programs, he met a lot of people, brought back a lot of information, and that's why we were able to focus on what we had to do to make our community have a better shot at getting this grant. So hats off to Officer Kamke for going, finding the information, and actually attending the program. So I want to thank him for that. And the chief for letting him go.
Okay, great stuff. Did we take a motion on this?
We did.
We did, all in favor of the motion? That passes with 6 ayes, great. Thanks very much, Vinnie, great stuff. I don't think any correspondence and claims, we have some maybe reports. Let's get to the minutes, this will be for the regular meeting, February 10th. Trustee Flynn, you were absent, so everybody else can take a look. I had one very minor on page 14, simply inserting an A. Liz, Mayor Kinnett said there was a going-away party, just needs an A there. There was a going-away party. This was for Mr. Doherty. That's the only thing I found. Anything else?
I've got one thing.
Okay, Jeff?
Page 17, where Trustee O'Donnell reported on the February 7th, 2015 vintage jewelry sale. Just make that a period, eliminate the rest of that line.
Okay.
They're not looking to redo it. It's just, it was what it was because of the weather.
Gotcha, okay. So, any other typos? Okay, so then I'll take a motion to adopt the minutes for February 10, 2015, as amended. Is there a motion? Trustee Golio, second. Trustee Cassell, all in favor, and that'll pass with 5 ayes in favor, noting 2 absent. Okay, reports. Anything to update on the Rivertown's Square project? There's still a lot of stuff going on down there.
Sure,
it looks like.
Rivertown's, they're working on the Ogden Avenue extension, there's been some tree clearing. Chipping will be taking place to actually start doing the Ogden Avenue extension. The bridge is supposed to come down tomorrow morning after the rush hour. I haven't got any change, as we know, I've been trying to send email blast to people. They keep changing the date because the weather has changed, so the weather should hold up, so that bridge should come down tomorrow. We have to have an alternate route for cars to drive by. It should take 4 or 5 hours to take the job down, but we're hoping to get it done before and after rush hour, in the morning and the afternoon. And then most of the building that's supposed to come down has come down, so most of the demo has been completed. Hopefully they'll start doing utilities. If there's any changes to traffic patterns or any construction that affects the general public, we'll be sending an email blast out. So if you're at home, if you're not on the mayor's email blast, please get on our website, get your email address there, and I'll keep you abreast of what's going on.
Great.
Okay?
Okay, thanks. And just quick update on the Dobbs Ferry Hastings DPW study. We do really have the close to the final draft back
Yes.
from the consultant that we retained, the 2 municipalities. Of course, this has been a study that's been ongoing for some time. We started this process a while ago through the New York State Efficiency Grant Program. I think just to report, we haven't, Dobbs Ferry still is making some final, we have some final comments to get to you, but I think it's pretty much done, and Hastings has announced that, so it's likely that we will be scheduling, I say we, the 2 municipalities will be announcing a joint public meeting, which we will probably do here, and sometime in late March. And we'll definitely announce this and get this out for anyone interested, so, which will just be a presentation from the consultant.
That's correct.
For the study. It may take a little while for him to get through all the slides. There's 125, not sure we'll have 125 slides
You're
to
right.
show that night, but it's a lengthy report, and we will make that available to the public once we've finished our final comments. You were actively involved in the study. Our DPW foreman, Gary Gardner was very active. Staff, budget committees, and likewise Hastings on their side
Yes.
too. So a lot of people contributed. The study does consider a full consolidation, because in order to get the money from the New York State
You have to study.
program, you had to study that, and then it goes down from there, all the way down to very little things where you could share services and equipment and
Exactly.
things like that. And we may decide to do something or nothing, but we have to get the report first. So that's really the update there. No action being considered. It's going to take some time, but we'll keep everybody posted about that.
Good.
Let me look to the trustees here. Just any announcements? Jeff, you want to?
I've got a couple. There is a beating, that was a bee at the library, not reading, where children are invited to come make their own bracelet and necklace. It's an informal workshop on Wednesday, February 25th, tomorrow, from 6:30 to 8, at the Dobbs Ferry Public Library, with instructors from our Cedar Street shop, Bangkok Bead Shop. You may make 2 necklaces or 2 bracelets, or 1 of each, but if you make more than 2, then you pay $10 for each additional item. Multicolored beads will be provided, and they'll teach you how to put a clasp on. If you would like to do it, please sign up by calling the library at 693-6614. Secondly, putting on my Dobbs Ferry Historical Society hat, there is a wine and cheese reception and lecture. Alexander Hamilton, Washington's indispensable partner. This is to be held at Saturday, March 7th at 6 p.m. at the Historical Society, which, if you're unaware, is at 12 Elm Street. There'll be a presentation by Alexander Hamilton expert Rand Cholet, I'm going to guess, who will discuss Washington's public service from 75 to 99 and show how Hamilton predominated among the key founding fathers. Before his talk, Ian Connett will speak about Alexander Hamilton as a Continental Army officer in Dobbs Ferry in 1781. I had that
Do I know that
feeling.
guy?
Yeah, I figured you might.
Do you want to say a little thing about it?
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
Stole my thunder there, Jeff.
Sorry.
So yeah, we're.
Well, you got to state your name and your.
Ian Burnett, 7 Landing. We're just a little promotion. We're doing a wine and cheese event at the Historical Society on March 7th. We've been working over the past several weeks with the premier Alexander Hamilton scholar. And actually, recently, Alexander Hamilton has been quite a popular figure in the media. There's a new a play that's going to be on Broadway shortly, exploring his life, and there's a lot of excitement around him as a historical figure. And we've made some very interesting connections to Dobbs Ferry. And I think we're going to be formally acknowledging for the first time what exactly Alexander Hamilton did in Dobbs Ferry, and how there were some things that happened in Dobbs Ferry that were a significant and critical impact on his life, and also on the outcome of the war and subsequent events. So we invite everyone to come out on March 7th from 6 to 8, and of course there'll be wine and cheese.
Most importantly.
Yes.
That's great, very exciting. Thanks, Jeff. You're good? Okay. Bill, anything? You want to tell us about your vacation? We want a vacation report. No, we don't. There'll be some tomatoes going to be thrown up here.
Just very quickly, the CAB, the Conservation Advisory Board, has been working with Marcus and our engineer, George Palmer, to help restructure the RFP so we can get an arborist down to the High Street project. And they're also coming up with some concept ideas for the future down there. So.
Great, thanks, Don.
Sure, just recently, one of the issues that was brought up again last year was the noise ordinance. And, Marcus has done a great job over the last few months gathering other municipalities' laws regarding this issue and how maybe Dobbs Ferry can readdress their own law, as we've kind of come to the conclusion that it's not very clear, or it's clear but maybe not good for everybody in the community. We held a meeting with myself, Chief Gilardi, DPW Gary Gardner, Darius, our town council, Ed Manley, who was up here today, code enforcer, and obviously Marcus, to begin looking at a framework of how we can make this better for residents and businesses in the community. So Darius, I know you and I will be talking over the next week about the initial framework. Once we get that laid out, then we'll present it to the board for discussion and hopefully prepare to move something forward that will make it a good thing for everybody.
Great. Thanks, Vic. And just a few other things here, just on the announcement side. Sustainable Dobbs. Sustainable Dobbs seeks community input on climate action plan. This is an initiative of the Dobbs Ferry Energy Task Force. Is going to sponsor a series of community conversations to solicit input on a climate action plan for the village. The conversations will start on Sunday, March 1st, and will run through the spring on Sunday afternoons from 4 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. Each session will be held at the Dobbs Ferry Public Library and will cover a specific issue. Anyone who lives, works, or has an interest in the future of Dobbs Ferry is invited to attend one or more of the following community conversations. March 1 will be on transportation. The March 22nd session will be waste. The April 12th session will be energy. The May 3rd session will be gardens, trees, and local food. And the May 31st session will be buildings and land use. So I want to encourage everybody to participate in this. I think, as most people know, and Jeff's been a big part of this, and as liaison, the Energy Task Force has been really one of the most productive teams of people that we've had out there, really getting things done, and especially in the area of sustainability and energy efficiency. Been a very close working partnership with that group and the elected officials, ourselves, and really has coined that we've been able to coin the phrase that what's good for the environment is good for business, and we've really proved that in Dobbs Ferry. And just to remind everybody in the seriousness of this, that Dobbs Ferry's commitment to sustainability was recognized by New York State last year when the village was awarded the highest level of Climate Smart certification issued to date, the highest to date. Dobbs Ferry won it. A key accomplishment that supported this award was our village's dramatic reduction of greenhouse gases from municipal buildings and streetlights by over 40%. Jeff, they've done great work, and it's continuing, and this is part of that effort. So we did put this in the newsletter, which you can look up on the website, and really hope a lot of you can come out to that. Also, there's a book sale, Springhurst Elementary School, on March 12th, Thursday. That's from 4 to 8. March 13th, Friday, from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m., and March 14th, Saturday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. These are gently used books, including many recent titles, great finds for children and adults, games, DVDs, CDs, videos. And this obviously supports the school and is hosted by the PTSA of Dobbs Ferry. So just wanted to pass that information along. Okay, great meeting. Thanks for everybody's input. Good job, trustees. And there being no further business, meeting adjourned.